Gratitude Power Hour with Shelby.
You know those people that just show up and just raw dog life?
Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
And Jason.
Bro, I'm raw dogging life.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
A sobriety and mental health podcast that dives into the realm of overcoming substance abuse through the power of willingness, humility, and gratitude. Together, we can thrive and also have a little fun while we're at it. Now, here are your hosts, Shelby and Jason.
Welcome to the Gratitude Power Hour. Thank you very much for checking us out. She's Shelby. I'm Jason.
Hi.
And we've talked about a couple of things on the show thus far. We kind of kicked off the first episode just explaining who we are and what our goals for the podcast are. And then we went into filling the void that sobriety leaves when you, your substance is so dominant in your life. When you remove it, how to kind of fill that void. Or, I think we also spent some time talking about it's hard to do, and we're still in the process of doing that. Shelby's over 2 years at this point and still working on trying to find sober activities to do.
Very much.
And I'm earlier on and I'm running into the same thing. And then we followed that up with a discussion on recovery fatigue, just to summarize, when all you do is recovery based and, you're not doing much of anything for yourself, even if it's just, reading, just doing some kind of activity that isn't going to a meeting, going to a program, going to a support group, reading the big book if you're in AA, whatever, just something for yourself that's not recovery related, but is a healthy distraction.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about hoping to get some emails from listeners to have this be a more listener driven show. And we have received a few. The email is gratitudepowerhour@gmail.com. And I'd say a common question that we've received, people definitely want to remain anonymous. So we've decided we're going to call that person Barb.
Barb.
I don't know why.
Thanks for reaching out, Barb.
For whatever reason, the Barb from Stranger Things popped into my head, and that's why I did it. That's why I said Barb. I'm not kidding. That's like Barb. That's a recent Barb that I know is Barb from Stranger Things, who,
So imagine Barb from Stranger Things
died very early on in the series. But was yet a recurring scary character. And Barb was asking, as far as changes, whether it's early on or farther into sobriety, what kind of physical changes and mental changes have we, Shelby and myself, experienced? It sounded like she's very early in sobriety, so probably has not experienced a lot of changes yet, which is completely normal. Unfortunately, with what we do to ourselves, it takes a lot of undoing. And for the most part, I think we both experienced some sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
In terms of how we feel, how our brain works, how we socially interact. So we'll dive into some more specifics on that. I think let's start with you, Shelby, because you've been sober for 2 years plus. And I guess maybe we can kind of walk through what it was like early. I guess maybe when did you first start noticing changes? So, and were they mental changes first? Were they physical changes first? I feel like physical kind of just seems like what would naturally be noticeable first.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't want to put words in your mouth. So
no, that's definitely accurate. Especially because I know we talked about in the last episode that I stopped drinking, but I was dry. I was not doing the mental work that you need to do when you get sober. You have a problem for other reasons. It's not just the substance itself. You're dealing with other things that are buried, and if you aren't working on that stuff, the mental anguish and stuff is still going to be there. Like I also mentioned, I used another coping mechanism with a cross addiction to another substance. So my mental symptoms just kind of went. My coping mechanism was weed for that year period of a time where I wasn't fully sober.
So, before you go forward, I have a question about that. So, because I was obviously alcohol only,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get into like the progressional changes I've noticed over the last like 5 months. Is the physical part different with weed instead of alcohol? Because I'm guessing you noticed the changes that removing alcohol did, but did that keep some of them around? Like some
Yeah,
of
yeah, I know
the
what you're saying.
yeah, like, because physically the drinking, I know for me, it was like, your stomach hurts
Oh,
and,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's like because you're literally punishing yourself,
Yep.
whereas weed feels like it's more, well, I mean, I know it would be lungs, but brain. It's
Yeah,
way more
it was
brain.
100% brain. Like, for me, dealing with hangovers, I would just smoke to, like, feel better.
Okay.
Like, 'cause that, people use it for nausea and all of that, and so I would just use that to help. I mean, the hangovers with alcohol were just brutal. I'm sure everyone can relate to that at some point in their lives. Multi-day hangovers and just in bed all day, eating like shit, all of the above, and then you
Or
hate.
not,
Yeah, or
or
not.
not eating.
Yeah, not eating, just puking, and then hating yourself, and then somehow your brain forgets, and you do it again a couple days later when you feel better. Um, but with weed, it was more like this very dense fog over your brain. Like like even in conversations, like I mean vividly I remember like having conversations with my husband while I hadn't smoked yet, but it just like I could not focus on what he was saying. Like, it was like my brain was going somewhere else, and, like, with work, I noticed, like, a huge, like, decrease in productivity and being able to focus on one thing at a time, and it was like I didn't have to be using at that time, at that moment. It was like, smoke the night before, and then the following day, like, it just yeah, it's like the mental hangover without the pain.
Yeah. So you had the residual lingering
Yes.
spaciness
But it
and
was all the time.
yeah.
Because of the frequency
Oh,
of my
okay.
use, it was just all the time.
Well, I mean, it was kinda like that for me, like, towards the end,
Mhm.
because I wasn't drinking to get drunk, and I wasn't, like, drinking to get rid of a hangover, like, it was such a baseline thing
Yeah, yeah.
that you're kinda in that fog, like,
Yeah.
that baseline fog where you're kinda there, but not there, you're sorta present, not exactly retaining a lot of
No.
information or bringing a lot of great conversation.
Yeah, and, like, I would be doing things around the house and, it's laundry day, so I better smoke because laundry's more fun. Laundry is not supposed to be a fun thing, okay?
No.
Doesn't need to be fun, but like, bringing the clothes downstairs and forgetting what I was doing in the middle of what I was doing.
Right,
Like, it was
that and
so
the
noticeable.
fact that we're classifying, because I don't think fun is even the right word, right? Like, it's not like you're like, "You know what? I really need to get drunk or high to make chores fun." No, it's to make them tolerable,
Yes, yes,
you know?
exactly,
Nobody's
exactly,
having
yeah.
you're still not having fun. I mean, like, if I'm blasting some tunes, but I'm not having fun doing the chores,
Right.
I'm having fun drinking and listening to music.
That's
The
what
chores are
yes.
just the annoying
I'm having
activity.
fun
Yeah,
smoking weed.
yeah, the
That's what I'm
chores are
doing.
the annoying activity that's getting in the way of more weed
Right,
smoking. Yeah,
right.
okay.
But yeah, I would say the changes for alcohol at first, I would say within like the first month, the first couple weeks, honestly, of just like feeling physically better, not having a sour stomach a lot, like, and also like I would get headaches a lot and I was sleeping a little bit better, but also I was still smoking. So you think that smoking can get you to sleep, but like you're not getting that quality
Right.
REM. So like I'm here thinking I'm getting finally good sleep and you're not. So I think it's more relevant to talk about I got sober, 100% sober in March of 2024. So it took kind of a while, like to fully feel like mentally clear. And I honestly, like, it's not like I was waiting for that to happen because I didn't know any other way. It was just like being in our program and just noticing really being engaged in the content and like taking notes. And I'm like, holy shit, I just like focused for 6 hours in that place, and like I'm retaining things. And then, the sleep was, the first couple weeks, the sleep was kind of brutal, because I did not have a dream for probably 2 years. And then it's a common side effect when you stop smoking that, like, you have terrible dreams, is what I've heard. And I was having very terrible dreams.
So you go from no dreams to terrible dreams?
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, maybe I was having terrible dreams throughout it, but I just didn't remember them. But now it's like I would wake up with still some of that fog, but also, like, not knowing, like, okay, that was a dream. That's not your reality. That didn't just happen. So kind of starting the day off a little rough.
And
but
I think I'm not gonna pretend to be like a dream doctor, but like I'm pretty sure like if you're not getting good REM sleep, which is the case when you're drinking, smoking weed, whatever your substance is, you might pass out, you might rest, but you're not getting like full sleep. And I think that's when you actually have like
REM is when you dream.
REM, well, yeah, like I think that's when you have like normal, I'm all the way out dreams where I feel like I noticed I would have like daydreams
Yeah.
kind of, but you're sleeping, but you're not like fully out. So like you could be aware of what's going on in the room, which is kind of weird. That's how it was for me.
Interesting.
But like I would have like these weird ass dreams, but there's no way I was completely out,
Yeah.
because I mean, it was like all the brain could muster, I
Right.
think.
Right.
But yeah, that's why you probably don't remember any of them because you weren't out.
Right. Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah.
How has the sleep been for you these last 4 months? Right? Is it 5 months now?
Yeah, 5 months yesterday.
Yay! Round of
Yeah.
applause for Jason.
Yay. Yeah, 5 months yesterday. So, because I went straight from like I stopped drinking, went straight to detox, did not sleep in the hospital. So that was like 4 days. It took me, because I was sleeping in an uncomfortable bed. I had a roommate, in rehab. So that you have to overcome that. And I already had sleep problems. But I think we got medication right. And then, it took probably about like a week.
Yeah.
About 10 days in, I was getting more sleep. And then I was sleeping pretty well by the time I got out of there. And then I haven't really, other than a few nights here and there,
Mm-hmm.
I sleep pretty normal.
Yeah. But your
Um,
sleep was an issue like
for
before program,
years,
right?
for
Yeah.
like decades.
Yeah.
So, it's been pretty good. And I've been still trying to kind of like for me, I don't know that I'll be medication free on the sleep front for a while. And I'm almost
Mm-hmm.
at that point where I'm just, why mess with it?
Right. No,
Like,
don't mess with
because
anything.
my long
necessarily.
game, ideally, and I think my doctors, and I've been very upfront about it, like I would love to not be on anything.
Right. Same.
I mean, obviously, I'll take the things that help with anxiety and depression and
Right.
stuff, and maybe I would love to be off those too. But
Mm-hmm.
those for me are more like set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Like I
Agreed.
don't have that.
One thing at a time.
But I just don't have that. I never have, and I don't think I ever will. If my doctor says this isn't, I know people out there think that they're like pill pushing, and in some cases,
Yeah.
they are. They get kickbacks from, there's all kinds of crazy
This
stuff.
administration might be taking them away.
Yeah, but I know that my doctor says, you know what, you have high blood pressure. It's genetic.
Right.
Like take this,
Right.
and okay, now we notice that it's lower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, I don't feel like someone's force feeding me blood pressure
Right,
medication. So, but I also educate myself on the mental health medication.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for years to fully understand what I'm taking. And I'm not talking about like WebMD stuff. Like I ask the doctor questions.
Yes.
And if I go and if I read something about it and I'll be like, hey, if I understand correctly, is this how it works? Yeah, that's basically how it works. And then if your brain falls into this category, then you probably need this dosage.
Mm-hmm.
So I like understanding that.
Oh, totally.
Because then I feel like I'm a part of the process.
Yeah, you're the brain. That's literally a part of the
But
process.
I'm a part of, hey, I can, and I feel like by having that dialogue with doctors, I can answer their questions. I can, you know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times, especially let's say you go to an inpatient facility
Mm-hmm.
and people are having a handful of things going on, right? They've got insomnia because they're going through withdrawals. There's so much stuff going on. And I get that people are going in, some of them with pill problems,
Yeah.
are like scared to take anything because they feel like that's like a slippery slope.
Yep.
So it's like,
Fair.
but I mean, just take the cocktail. I'm telling you, when you get there, take the cocktail and then start removing stuff.
Yes.
But like, they're not just saying, they're not like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. It's not like a dartboard process.
Right.
It's like most people who fall into this category who've been on these types of medications, who've been drinking on them or doing opioids or doing whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like here's the stuff that generally works to get you to the least suffering that we can get you medically, and then we'll change.
Then you do the work.
Then you
They
tweak.
got to get you to a space where you are capable of doing the work.
Right. So, I don't know, we just kind of went down a rabbit hole of medications, but I mean,
Yeah,
it
that could
really,
be a whole episode.
but it really is there. I don't have blind faith. Like
Mhm.
I trust my doctors,
Mhm.
but there needs to be a back and forth. It's not just
100%.
you
Yeah.
go take
It's
this.
a relationship.
I'll be like,
for
okay,
real.
but what if it's working really well, but it's activating and I'm starting to get like it creeps into when I'm supposed to go to sleep.
Mhm.
Okay, well then they just tell you when to just
Right.
change
Adjust
the time
timing. Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of like our first instinct, I think, is to scrap the med.
Yeah. Like this
when
is
it's
not working.
not working instantly, or
Mhm.
if we feel good but we're still not sleeping, it's like, well, that's because they're their own problems.
Right.
Insomnia is its own thing.
Yeah.
So back to like, so when you removed alcohol first, and I know you were smoking weed, but what was the first thing you noticed? I know you said your stomach was feeling better.
Mhm.
You weren't having debilitating headaches.
Yeah.
Did you notice an energy? Did you get
Yes.
energy boost? Okay.
Definitely.
Because I didn't know if the weed was almost, you're like,
No,
I
it
feel great.
also-
And then I'm tapering
Right.
back
No,
down.
it did. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like you stop and yeah, there definitely is a boost. I would say is if it's physical and mental because like it was like motivating
Right.
too.
Well,
So like,
I knew that's the word you're going to go with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it is. It really is. Like
'Cause it
I'm
was like, holy
physically
shit, I'm
able to
doing
go
it.
do something.
I'm doing it.
I have energy.
Yeah.
You have energy.
Yeah, definitely.
And like good energy.
Yeah, I'm not doing
not
downers.
nervous
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
Which is like the hangover
Right.
feeling.
Right. And I physically, this ties into mental too, but like, I mean, anxiety is like alcohol literally causes
it's horrible,
anxiety.
yeah.
And so that was like the biggest difference. And that's also very layered because alcohol was like the only issue in my marriage. It was, the only issue that was like not allowing me to follow through with my personal goals of like getting up in the morning and having a routine and going to the gym. It was like it was not allowing me to do those things.
That's the whole, like, you don't know what the morning's going to look like.
Yeah,
We'll see what
no.
happens when the alarm goes off.
Right. And it's like you
Yeah.
think you're a hero at the end of the day. You're tipsy, you're feeling awesome, and you set out your like, I'm going to get up, and it's like, absolutely not. And then the shaking in the morning of anxiety and just the dread.
Yeah.
Like once I stopped drinking, like that was almost instantly was gone. It's almost like just the of knowing like I am not drinking anymore. So this is not going to be an issue for me. And then
you were
it's
probably
like
drinking differently than I was.
yeah,
too.
yeah. Like I wasn't drinking every single day. I wasn't like I didn't like I don't think I had a physical dependence on it. It was just binge drinking multiple days a week.
Yeah.
So I think if I would have kept on the way I was drinking and like at the end starting to like hide it and like so I could drink a little bit more but still look like I was only having a couple, if I would have not stopped right then, it would have led to something of a physical dependency. Like I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you noticed the early, let's just call it relief, relief from the following day, or if depending on the level of drinking that you were doing. And like you said, if it was like binge drinking or a bender,
Mm-hmm.
like the longer you have a couple of days, the longer the hangover lingers. And it's interesting too, because you were smoking weed during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know that you noticed like the full,
No.
like how long the body needs to kind of come off of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It was like my body was adjusting to like regular exercise, regular caloric intake, not having
Yeah.
1,500 calories of booze, and eating multiple meals a day and not just drinking dinner. But I wasn't allowing my brain to fully take on those benefits because I was just numbing it down with THC.
Right.
And now it's like almost a year completely sober. It feels like a new fucking brain.
Yeah.
It's insane. I'm like, do I have anxiety? Because really, I don't get anxious anymore.
So when you were drinking, when you stopped drinking, I should say, was like the weed kind of like a secondary thing and drinking was like the dominant thing? Or were you doing
Yes.
both like equally?
At the same time too.
Okay.
Like it would be more likely that like if I was drinking, I would definitely smoke because that would just be like, oh, I'm drinking, I'm gonna
Yeah.
smoke too. But there were times where I would just smoke and not drink too.
Okay.
So it was, yeah, I don't think, I mean, I've drank a lot longer than I've smoked. Like, I've probably 5 years of smoking. No, longer than that. 10 years of smoking and like 15, 17 of drinking.
Okay. So
Oh, 10 years, really? Yeah, I thought it was shorter than that, but
God,
wow.
it
Yeah,
was like
no, it's
3 decades of drinking.
yeah,
Um,
still hits,
yeah. So, you know what, the thing, as a side note to that, I do feel like unless I am fortunate, like with that much time, 30 plus years of drinking, my body is still okay.
Yeah,
Like I'm not dealing with like
right,
severe
right.
liver
Liver
problems
stuff.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I'm fortunate in that capacity,
Grateful for that.
but it's more I'm noticing like I think I brought up to you, I go to a young person's or like a younger group on Friday nights, and there are some people who have found sobriety at like, 20, 21, 24, stuff like
Perfect
that.
time.
And, my first instinct was always like, man, I've been drinking for so much longer, or I drank for so much longer that the residual effects from like on a physical standpoint, but no, for me, it's more like that those additional years is just additional suffering. It's not
Right.
like it could be both.
Exactly.
It's not for me, but like it's more time to have legal ramifications, more time to damage family and other relationships. So, I mean, they're sparing themselves so much by finding it early.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. But yeah, so for me, I would say, yeah, like I noticed because I had to go through like withdrawals.
Some
So
shit. Yeah.
I would say,
How long did you go through withdrawals, do you think?
my blood pressure was crazy high. Like I had to
Yeah.
get it checked every day when I was in rehab.
Because did it go into rehab? Because does it happen for a couple weeks?
Oh, it was even high when I got out. Like,
Really?
I mean, because
Okay.
I had high blood,
Yeah.
but I mean, part of it's genetic and part of, so I've been taking medication and I was taking medication for it even when I stopped drinking for
Yeah.
like a year and a half. Obviously, this made it worse, but then stopping, that was being monitored the whole time. But I mean, like, I started to feel better. And I think let's say the time during the day when I was feeling off and shaky and anxious and irritable, it felt like it was becoming more and more. It was not more and more. It was happening less of the time, and I was starting to feel a little bit better more of the time. But like it wasn't gradual. Like all at the end, I was feeling amazing. Like it was very up and
It's
down.
not linear. Yeah.
No, because I would have moments where I just felt like awful out of nowhere, but it wouldn't last forever. But it would be like an hour or two where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. I would get super spacey and, they call it the post-acute withdrawal symptoms. So, and I think I'm still dealing with that.
Yeah.
Not daily, at least that I notice, but a couple times a week, I'll have moments where I'm like, woof,
Right.
She's,
Yeah.
um, this is not normal. And unfortunately it is, but yeah, it's not how I'm supposed to be feeling. But yeah, so I mean, I had pretty gradual physical improvement, mental. I mean, very similar to you, like I started to have more motivation,
Mm-hmm.
ability to focus. I mean, I noticed like the hardest thing I think for me was retention
Yes.
when it was like really bad.
Yes.
Specifically, because when you go to these programs, you're doing a lot of reading, and I would have to keep rereading. Like I could get through a paragraph and I'd be like, and I have to keep going back and
It's
rereading.
frustrating.
Yeah. And then I think you add to it by getting in your own head, like, God, I can't even
Right.
read a
Then you're an
paragraph.
asshole to
Mhm.
yourself, and then it just
Yeah.
compounds.
Yeah. So, but it's been steady. I'd say the mental part just takes a little longer.
Yes. And it's also not as noticeable when you're in it.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like now I'm like noticing the mental changes after situations happen, and I'm like reflecting on things like situations with work or family that would normally like put me into a fucking spiral.
Yeah.
And like that spiral would ultimately lead to like, what's the point? Like, this is never going to get better. And all this, like things that like are so irrational
Yeah.
of making conclusions about a situation that you have no control over. Like, it is like night and day. Like, those same situations that happened that would put me into a multi-day spin of like smoking hours of the day, sleeping and not doing anything, not being productive at work, and just like compounding on that self-hatred. Those situations happen now, and I'm just like, okay, that's not my fucking problem. Like just the wise mind, like
Yeah.
I am living in wise mind and not emotional mind anymore.
Yeah.
And the skill, like learning a ton of skills
Right.
in that program to help me deal with them. So like in those situations, I'm in my body, I'm recognizing that like, oh, this is a situation that is, causing my butterflies in my stomach of something that would like normally make me anxious. But it's just, I've learned a new way and I've done it enough times that it's starting to become my default response rather than going into a spiral of cognitive distortions and like, yeah, just spiraling and using and recreating that loop of self-sabotage.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about this the other day. And this isn't me saying that like it can't be done, but for me personally, and I think for you as well, I don't know if you guys out there are familiar with kind of I think we might have touched on this, but um abstinence versus harm reduction.
Yeah.
Abstinence meaning, like no drinking,
Goodbye.
no smoke, no nothing. Zero things, the
You're
only
raw dog in reality.
yeah, the only substance you have, I mean, I don't know if you're a smoker, maybe you smoke, and if you're, caffeine. I mean, that's kinda it.
It is a substance
It's kinda
technically.
it, yeah. I noticed that because I've attended, a mental health program when I was dry,
Mhm.
so didn't drink, and I've attended one when I was drinking a whole bunch before, and then I wasn't drinking during, like,
Your
when we were
program.
together, I
Mhm.
was not drinking, and then I just couldn't manage. No matter how many skills you learn, you practice, the substance use kind of makes it way too easy to default back to
Mhm.
your old way of thinking and your old way of managing feelings and emotions. Eh
Because that's what it knows what to do.
Right.
Like, the alcohol is the substance is doing to your brain what it is meant to do.
Yeah.
And, like, your brain has over how many years, 3 decades, is just doing what it knows to do.
Right. And it wasn't even like for me, like it wasn't just a coping skill. It was how do I feel something else?
Yes.
It's just I just want to feel I don't even think this is going to be
I'm
good. I
fucking
just want to
bored.
feel something else.
Yeah.
But my point about why I was going in that direction is, and we have some friends who are, are on the harm reduction path. And I think for the most part, a lot of times harm reduction, and I think we even saw it to some extent when we were in program, was people went in, started that way. And then when they were done, they went to abstinence.
Yes.
It was almost like, and I get it, right? It's almost like not setting yourself up for failure. So let me see if I can do these small
Right.
changes.
Right.
And then if I can, then maybe
Right.
add some more,
Mhm.
remove some more in this capacity. But, I do think that it completely derails any progress that I have.
I agree.
So if I were to say, if I were to successfully be able to cut back on drinking, even that small amount, like if this isn't like full blown alcoholism, if I wasn't an alcoholic and I wanted to cut back on drinking and I had all these skills and I was able to achieve both, I still feel like my thinking would go
Yeah.
backwards
100%.
so quickly.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
aren't able to see warning. In sobriety, I notice I'm able to see things differently. I'm able
Clearly.
to see them coming.
Yes.
Whereas when you're in the throes of substance use, you are blindsided constantly because there are signs everywhere and you can't see them.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you get nailed with it. And the only way to fix that is to drink even more or do whatever you're
Right.
doing.
Right. And I tried for years of harm reduction.
Yeah.
I called it moderation, but one drink changes your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
And my brain knew how to do one thing and was more. So it was like that 2-drink limit. Well, I did 4. Like and then it got to a point where, okay, if I'm ultimately trying to stick to 1 to 2 drinks or just have one drink like my husband can, if I know all of the evidence that I have in my many attempts that my brain cannot do that, am I willing to continue trying and failing or just have a pop? Or a water or sparkling water instead? Like, what's the difference? If one drink is not gonna get me the results of what I want with alcohol, then why am I continuously trying and beating myself up every time I'm setting myself up to
It
fail?
almost feels like you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
too,
completely.
right? Like
Completely.
if you're trying to address some kind of a substance abuse issue, cutting back just doesn't even seem like it's the right answer. But
But you have to get there
right,
yourself.
but you're also kind of like, I do. Our body and our brains have like very strong defense mechanisms in place where, we realize something is a problem. We don't necessarily know how to fix it, but we're at least realize something is a problem.
Right, and your brain's
So-
doing everything it can to be like, "No, it's not no, you're good."
But instead of eliminating it completely, it's more like, let me just do less.
Mhm.
And this could be not just about alcohol or drugs or whatever. This could be food,
Spending less.
spending money, right? Like all kinds of stuff. And I think unfortunately, our default is to, well, I'll just do less. Not I'll just stop doing it.
Right.
I'll do less.
Because it feels so impossible.
Right. And when something is a habit, and especially when we're talking about this, where it is not just mental, it's a
Right.
physical and mental thing that has got like such a grip
Mhm. The fangs are in.
on you. You could say to yourself, shit, I've been drinking forever. I need to stop. And then fully believe it.
Yeah.
Believe it. And then your body goes through withdrawals and you're like, I can't do this. Like
Mhm.
physically now I can't. Mentally, I know I need to do it. Physically, my body's
Right.
like, nope, we're going to make you sick.
Mhm.
And then you're going to be like, all right, well, I'll just need to drink till like normalize. And then you're back to the,
Back to the
it's,
same thing.
yeah, it's horrible. Like it really is horrible. But I will say, now I really like where I'm at headspace wise.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm not overconfident. I'm not saying that it could never happen, but I have no urge to
Mhm.
drink.
Same.
Like I just don't.
Yeah, I think it's because for me personally, in sobriety, I found everything that I had ever been looking for and everything that I was coping with. All of those feelings of not being enough and, seeking validation and wanting to be fun and all these bullshit core beliefs that I had about myself, I actually allowed myself to sit in them and with a clear mind, a clear heart, I know that that shit is not true. And this process, yeah, maybe I didn't feel that way at first, but going through this process and witnessing and being fully 100% in my body and mind while I go through the process of recovery and getting and staying sober, I am immensely proud and found I finally saw myself and I really like what I see. And I feel so much grief and sadness for that person who was just struggling and suffering because she just couldn't see what was right in front of her.
Or who.
Or who. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's weird that this, as you were just talking, this just occurred to me because I think I brought this up in, I don't know, one of our previous episodes, but like especially going to meetings, I'll notice like the reading that day is something that I was dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
like that day or maybe the day before,
Yeah.
but also like someone will say something and it's not their intention for it to be a lesson of some sort, but it'll be something that maybe was weighing on me, and I'll be like, "Oh, you know what, man? Maybe I should." Like, they're not even giving me advice. Like, it's just I've learned to kind of you're more present, so you take away more
Your
from
openness.
even passive
Yeah.
interactions. Like, you're not even having a direct conversation, just someone sharing in a meeting.
And just you've talked about this, how your intentions for going into a meeting is, I'm going to take one thing away.
Yeah.
So like you're automatically taking down those defenses and like that is what's allowing these things to come in and hit where they need to hit.
But so what popped into my head is the Chicago Bears just hired a new coach not too long ago. And, I've been around long enough that I've seen opening press conferences and it's all the same,
Mm-hmm.
like bad acronyms and stuff. Like, it's just, and it's not specific to the Bears. I've just seen more of ours. The new coach just seems like a smart dude. And there were some players that were sitting in the front row. And he, like, in the middle of the press conference, he was answering a question and he just looked over at the four players and he's like, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, he's just made direct eye contact with them. And when I heard him say that, like, and then what basically, like, kind of like what you were just talking about, I'm like, you know what? Because I think we confuse someone praising us or kissing our ass or saying something in support of as like the only good news. And if people are being constructively criticizing or offering feedback, we're being punished. There's like no gray area. So like when I hear something like that, the new coach say, it's been going this way here for as long as it have, because everyone is way too comfortable with the status quo. I've been that way for so long. So now like I almost feel like my default mode is like, I'm not saying I'm walking around uncomfortable all the time, but I'm more like, okay,
It's familiar
right.
now.
But there's no control.
Right.
Like I'm not
No.
worried about, I know I can't control anything. Zero things.
Mm-hmm. But
Like,
yourself.
I can control, well, but I mean, like how people are gonna react to things, what people are gonna say, how they're gonna respond to me saying something, like, just the amount of anxiety I've caused myself unintentionally. I had no idea I was trying to control it.
Right.
Like, the only time I had, like, an epiphany in the last, let's call it, year was, someone was talking to me about, like relationships or whatever. And I said, I noticed that because I have like these like abandonment issues, if I start to see that something's going to end, I make it worse so I can control how it ends.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Like I called it, I think when I was in rehab, I think I even brought this up. I don't know if you were in the room or not, because I know we split off into different groups sometimes, but I called it like Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
Like if I knew something bad was going to happen, I would just like drive off the cliff,
Yeah.
just so I ended it.
Yeah. So at least you have the control.
I ended it. And I've done that with jobs. I've done that with relationships, but it's like this thing where I'm like, man, I'm just not trying to control everything anymore and just kind of trying to like be in the moment and
Yeah.
not try and see like 9 steps ahead. Yes, we learn the skill like play the tape for, but that's like if you're going to do something that's self-destructive. I feel like that's when that's the most effective is you know how this is going to end.
Right.
That's that move. You know how this is going to end. If you don't, play the tape forward. How does this always end? Okay, don't do it. But I mean, now I'm just trying to like live. And I think the fact that I'm starting to get antsy and I'm starting to want more than just recovery stuff, I think that is like a sign that I'm like ready for things that aren't necessarily recovery based.
Yeah.
Where I'm not bored, I'm not stressed, I'm just ready for more.
Yeah.
Or open to more.
You need some hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah. Find a hobby. All right. Can you see a middle finger through through a podcast?
I'm giving myself the middle finger.
Yeah. No, I wasn't.
I'm still trying to find hobbies.
Yeah, I know. To put a button on Barb's question.
Thanks, Barb.
Barb's question.
Good old Barb.
I think it's different for everyone, and especially what your substance is, like duration.
Yeah, physical is hard to nail down because of the differences in substances, but I think the mental would be pretty similar. And understanding, I think one of the things that has helped is knowing, okay, I spent the majority of my 32 years using a substance. I cannot expect for everything to be great in a year or like it's going to take time.
Right.
But the compounding of like starting to feel better mentally, physically, and having more motivation to do things, it just compounds and like makes it easier to continue on that path.
There's so much tied into it. You've got the physical hooks in you, and the body makes it so difficult to stop because of how used to it is having the substance there that you only feel, and good isn't the right word, but you only feel better if you have it.
Yeah.
And when you remove it, your body's so used to having it, you feel awful because your body is literally not just addicted, but it's dependent.
Yeah, right.
It's dependent.
Alcohol dependency.
Yeah. Undoing that is not easy.
And also if it needs to be in a medical setting, if you're on that level, do that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Don't mess around with doing it on your own.
I mean, when I stopped the first time, I was completely unaware of what could happen.
It couldn't be fatal.
Yeah. And I just had, 5 days of hell.
Oh, that's scary.
I had no idea, and then this time around I went to detox and did it in a controlled environment. But I didn't know. I just figured, all right, knock it off. You got to stop drinking. You're going to feel like crap. I felt like crap. And then I started to feel better, but I didn't do anything about my mental. So that's the thing. Like the longest answer ever to that question is, you've got to, your first step is to do whatever you can in a safe way to remove the substance. Being somewhere at an inpatient level, or at least a few days or a week or however long medically it takes for it to happen to come off of it. But the work needs to begin immediately on why do I
Right.
use?
What's underneath of it?
Why am I doing this? Why is this my default coping mechanism? Because I think too, a lot of times drinking or smoking weed or whatever it's just an escape, And when you hear people say that, right? I mean, and in some cases, it is absolutely harmless. When people don't have a problem, absolutely harmless.
Totally.
I just want to go home. I want to put on the game. I want to have a couple of beers, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
And I just want to wind down or whatever that sounds like the right word. But like not I want to get so drunk that I don't feel feelings. Like
Yeah.
I've said that out loud.
Yeah.
I've had friends say that to me out loud. We think it's funny.
It's
Not.
It's not.
But
It makes me sad for you.
right. But
And for me. That's very much.
I mean I want to like I want to not feel feelings. I mean the only time anybody like has said something that really made me laugh super hard and for obvious reasons is I'm sure being a white girl, you've heard the term white girl wasted.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So when my guy friends would say it, I always thought it was like hysterical because it really is. Because I'm like, I swear, if you start yelling woo, I'm going to punch you in the neck. Yeah, but the woo girls, but yeah,
The
like
woo
just
girls.
have some like to have like your 6-foot friend be like, man, I'm gonna get a white girl wasted.
Wow, great.
All right.
Great.
What does that look like?
Yeah. Curious.
Yeah. So I feel like this is a very open-ended question for both of us because whether it's 2 years or 5 months, I think we just string together more and more time of good days.
Oh,
And the physical part does feel like it's more at this point for me in the rear view. I think just weight gain is like what I'm dealing with the most from a physical standpoint, just
Same.
because, you're not eating 3 normal meals. You're not eating at normal times. So I gained weight like so fast.
Yeah.
The mental is the stuff that feels like it's going to linger
It will.
for a long time. And not just from, focus issues, motivation, things like that, but just lapses. I have these lapses in memory where you still have and this is probably, this happens to people who are aging too, but like, you walk into a room and we're like, well, why did I come in here? Yeah. But I'll be in the middle of the thought or something and it'll just go, it's gone. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
That'll go away.
Right. But also like I'm fully aware of why it's happening. So it's not like, what is
Right.
wrong with
When
me?
you have
I'm
the
not
awareness.
piling on.
Like that happens and you're just like, oh, there's that thing again.
I'm not piling on.
I do have a question. I
Yeah.
know we're
Oh, we
almost
got
up
a little, yeah, we got
to
a little
time.
bit. When we delete all the ums and likes,
Yeah, we'll gain about 8 minutes.
We'll gain, yeah.
So yeah, like when a stressful situation comes up now, or like a triggering event that, anxiety or you're feeling down or whatever, how are you dealing with it differently now rather than I don't want to feel my feelings?
Okay. So for me, I never just have one thought.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm in the middle of something and one piercing thing comes in and I'm like, and it's like ruined everything. I do feel like I have a pretty, whether it was fully involved with substances or not, like I do have a capacity to kind of endure like a lot. But I would, if I managed to, whether it was with a substance or I'm at work. So it's like, I'm going to push that aside for now. Or I become distracted and it kind of goes away, but it's not worked through. That's when it would still be in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I might forget about it for 6 months, but it's there. That's one thing. So let's just say like the brain has bandwidth for like 12, like volume wise. you can fit like 12 thoughts, whether they're negatives,
Yeah.
12 bad thoughts
Mm-hmm.
or unhealthy thoughts. But, right now I have one and I forgot to deal with it. I like got in the middle of something. I didn't address that thought. And I'm not talking about like I need to sit down and talk this through and do all kinds of stuff. No, I need to be like, okay, why did why was this such a problem? Why was this like bothering me? Okay. Is this like life altering? Is there anything I can do to change this other than just keep doing what I'm doing and I'll start to build up let's call it like positive currency. So
Yeah.
like let's use an example. Let's say I've heard a lot of people through my substance use, and selfishly I would like for them to see how great I'm doing and come around on my timeline,
Mm-hmm.
not on their timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think that way, and I'm fully aware that it doesn't work that way at all, but that's because I'm fortunate enough to have gone through programs,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been literally in a program one way or another for 5 straight months,
Right.
where that's almost all I do. Not everybody is that fortunate. So if 5 things are rattle around in there, like I've somehow now possessed this skill of prioritizing. All right, I've got 5 things that are going on, like, and and what of it? I'm not making enough money. I can't drive. I'm out of food. And it's 2 of them. Like some of them can be very like dumb.
Oh, yeah,
Like
totally.
they're not like I can't drive. I
Groundbreaking.
can't drive is one. Money is one. Those are big. Those are big
But
things.
yeah, those are big ones.
I don't have kind bars, and now what the hell snack am I going to eat? But just like dumb stuff.
Right.
I'm out of dryer sheets, or whatever, just like dumb stuff. But if you've got 2 big ones in there, the little ones seem more problematic.
Yes. Yeah.
But I know I'm guilty of it. Okay, which one's the easiest to deal with? Go buy some fucking kind bars.
Yeah. Let's
Right?
check.
Yeah, but what I can't be like which one's the easiest.
Right.
I can't live
No,
that way
that's
anymore.
not the work.
Right. So but it's kind of like, okay, the money thing is a big problem. It affects a lot of things in my life.
It affects your ability to buy kind
Right.
bars.
Is my life over? Is generally like, and I'm telling you, like, I go to those extremes. Is this like life or death? Like, if I don't have money in my hand in 10 minutes, is this going to change the rest of my life? Usually the answer is no. So then it's kind of like, all right, is this something I can deal with right now? Not having money, but like the situation that's causing a problem. So I can't pay my internet bill, whatever it is. Like, is this something I can fix right now? No. Okay. I'm at work. Should I be thinking about my money problems that are not, there's literally nothing I can do about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like I'm starting to prioritize. And if it is something that I could fix in the moment, I do it. If I think like, is this, you ask yourself a couple of questions. Should I even be like, why am I thinking about this? Like, is this something that is a problem, like at all?
Yeah.
Am I just making it a problem? So a lot of times,
am I just making it a problem?
those things just like kind of, you check them off.
Yeah.
They're like gone. They almost just like disappear,
Yeah. That's really helpful.
But then I go back, like I make sure.
Well, yeah,
And
you
even
have
if
to
like,
go back.
I swear, like I'll put it in the notes in my phone.
Good.
And then I'll go back and look and be like, and then sometimes you work through them organically. Like you'll just kind of be like, or maybe you'll get some good news. And then it's kind of a part of that thought. And you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I go back because I know the ones that rattle around in there, it might be one, it might not bother you forever, but when 11 more come in, that's when chaos happens. Yeah. And that's when you're overwhelmed. And that's when I would drink. And that's when I would panic.
Yep.
And that's when I would become codependent on literally anyone who would listen to me, respond to my text, do whatever, because I can't deal with this by myself.
Yeah.
And even though you can't help me, at least you're talking to me.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
like all these things, because I didn't address one thing, let alone 12, but also realize like some of them don't need to be dealt with.
Right.
They just need to be thought about.
Yeah.
Just think about it. If you can't do anything about it right now, you're at work, you're at school, you're in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't. Is there anything I can do about this right now? Is there anything I can even do about this today? You know, just I try to in the moment ask myself
Yeah,
some
that's
questions.
very mindful.
Yeah.
It's a very mindful practice.
And it doesn't spin me out.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great habit you've built
Yeah.
so far.
I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't work every single time. I mean, you know, especially with like the legal stuff I have going on,
Totally.
like that stuff is overwhelming. But again,
Can you do anything to
Right.
change that
right
now?
Yeah. When's the next court date? Okay.
Okay,
Well,
that's what
then
it is.
that's
Do you
when I
have a
can deal
lawyer?
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the meantime, I'm doing everything that I'm
You've
supposed
done
to be doing.
everything that you can
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Right. So I don't spin out.
But yeah, it's natural to have
It just gets more
anxiety about
annoying
that.
like day of.
Right. Yeah.
But I normally would have been thinking about that all day, every day.
Right.
And then you don't sleep. And then you don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Or then you eat too much and then you sleep too much, or, you know, like it's like, and it's all because of this one thing that you didn't address. And then it just lingers.
Right. And it turns into like a multi-day thing when sitting with that thought for 5 minutes.
Right.
Like
Multi-day, multi-week,
yeah, like save
multi-month.
yourself the suffering. And
Oh,
it's like
awful.
the thing that with your the Bears coach of get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like that is the theme of sobriety and getting sober. It's like, don't tell me you may be like in your drunken, like feeling good or whatever you want to call it, but don't tell me that that's comfortable the next day and sitting with all those feelings. So it's like the lesser of two, the discomfort you feel as a sober person reintegrating into your life is 1,000 times less intense than the discomfort you feel of using and having an issue and not being able to stop it.
Right. I mean, I know like now that I'm saying this out loud, right? I mean, like when you're in the middle of it, it's not this simple.
No.
But for real, like let's say, I don't know, like I lost my job and my way of coping with it that day that it happens is to just go drink a bottle of bourbon. And then the next day I am still dealing with, I lost my job in addition to a horrific hangover.
Yeah.
So you're still not dealing with it.
Yeah. You're compounding the discomfort.
Yeah. You're delaying it and
Yeah.
compounding it.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's just until you really look at it, you don't see it. You don't think about it that way because it's kind of like, well, yeah, man, I just got drunk one night and blah, blah, blah. And no, but generally it's not one night because you know you can't fix it. You know there's no quick fix.
Yeah.
So it becomes 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, a week, a month.
And I feel like you're not, like, you won't be able, until you actually live it, experience it, you're not going to know that there's another way.
Right.
Like, I was in that same boat of like, well, I could never not drink. Like, it's part of my identity. It's part of my social circles. It's like, well, I can't see a life without it. And then you do a life without it. And it's like, oh shit, hey.
Yeah.
We can do this.
No, but you just think about
This is
like
way better.
everything we've just been talking about is like it's the least amount of control possible, but all while trying to control it all.
Yeah.
You have no control whatsoever. And when you throw a substance into already the chaos that's happening, you have even less control over how you act,
how you think,
your emotional response.
Yeah.
All of it is worse. And I promise you, this is not like preaching or anything like that because
we're preaching a little bit.
Well, no, but because like this is really how I'm thinking now. It's like, oh my God, you know, but at the same time is you can't, you know, like we've said all along, you know, like talking about this stuff on this show, like we're not professionals or anything like that. It's just, I notice that in this process, you start to have like these epiphanies, you know, you start to see things and connect some dots. And like the hardest part is there's no one size. Well, you know what? Actually, let me take a step back. I was going to say there's no one size fits all, but for the most part, there is a good, solid template for recovery that's simple. I think there's a simple template. Now, how it looks for you, what are you trying to deal with? Not just the substance, but what's the problem? What is causing you to have this substance problem?
Mhm.
Like, that's the hard part. But like the recovery thing for real is remove the substance, find out why you have to use that substance to try and make everything better, fix everything.
Yeah.
Now, everything else is way more granular, takes way more work, takes way more thought, takes professional people, takes support, takes family, takes all of the above. But the simple part is this is not sustainable. I
No.
can't live like this anymore. Why am I choosing to keep doing this? You know, and that's where the professionals come in.
Yep. God bless them.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, couldn't have done it without
No.
the many, many professionals that were on our care
I
teams.
mean, I don't know that I would have been like dead by now, but I was on that path. And I don't know, I pretty much threw in I put up the white flag and just put blind faith into, okay, tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do. And then you do what they tell you to do.
Yep.
And then you have the runway.
Yeah.
To be able to live the life you wanted to live.
Yeah.
And it's like even all the negative stuff, like life is not supposed to be just good all the time. That's not life. It is as painful as some stuff is, like at least you get to feel it. Sometimes this path can lead you to not feeling anything at all or not being here. So
I do think that anyone who is in our shoes has missed out on so many life lessons that were right in front of our face because we were, what's the right word? We were clueless.
Yeah. Didn't have the tools, ability, or brain space to see it.
I like I said, going to the meetings and like the takeaways and stuff like that. But like, I noticed these things where, and I know, I think we'll address this more because this is a big issue for people is the higher power thing, like in programs like AA or, even some of the other programs like Smart Recovery or things like you've got to have this like belief system in certain things and practice certain things, but you've got to like understand it to a point.
Yeah.
But then you also have to have some blind faith. But the higher power thing for me is like I'm starting to see things from people that you don't know or you would never expect to see them from that person. And then someone will say something and it's kind of be like, and it may not happen in the moment, but I definitely, because my brain is functioning better, like I'll retain it and it'll be in here. And then something will happen. I'll be like, no shit. That's exactly what that guy was saying at the meeting.
Yeah.
But he wasn't talking about this. But now you find these parallels.
Right.
Like
it's a superpower.
It really is.
It really is a superpower.
It really is. And that's what makes me appreciate being around other drunks so much is I learn just as much from the 20-year-olds than I do from the 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know what? This has been weighing on me today. They'll say something and then someone else in the room will be like, I'm so glad you said that because I've been thinking of this. And then I'll be like, damn, I was thinking about that 3 days ago and I was just waiting for someone to bring it up.
There it is.
Yeah. So it's amazing. Right. So, with that, we'll get wrapped up here. We went a little bit long, but
when we get going, it's hard to stop.
Of all the things to not be able to stop talking about, I feel like we're airing on something positive, so that's a plus. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate it.
Thanks again, Barb.
Barb, please shoot us an email, gratitudepowerhour@gmail.com. And just, I don't know, if you have any thoughts, feedback, stuff that's weighing on you, questions, like I said, we can't solve, we're not problem solvers, but I think we both find that by talking stuff out, sometimes it kind of works itself out.
Yeah.
You just kind of get it out there, or just vocalize it. I think we were even talking about before the show for something unrelated, but instead of just just blowing someone up, type out a letter, type out a text, don't send it, right? Like sometimes just the act
The process.
of getting it on paper is enough. Right. You don't need to go scorched earth on somebody if just writing it out makes it better. So that being said, again, thank you for listening.
Thanks for being with us.
Please contact us and we'll talk about stuff. Otherwise we have to brainstorm on our own ideas, and I don't really know if you guys want us to do that. So
please email us.
Keep the questions coming. Tell your friends, whatever platform you listen on, if you could subscribe, and
if you liked it, give us a 5-star rating.
If you don't like it, give us a whatever.
Move on to the next podcast and don't worry about it.
Yeah. Or maybe we just had a bad episode.
Yeah. We all have bad days, okay?
Yeah, clearly. So yeah, anyway, this is Gratitude Power Hour. She's Shelby, I'm Jason, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
Bye.